Okay, so you're already coming from a family, everybody's racing, you're growing up seeing this, seeing them not only race, but being victorious. How, as a kid, were you going to meet all these people and were all of the drivers becoming your heroes?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. We went to the races before I started racing in the go-karts. When I started racing in the go-karts, then I stayed in Albuquerque racing the go-kart. I had a choice. I could either go to Dad and watch him race, or I could race the go-kart, and I chose to race the go-kart. But prior to that, yeah, we would go to the races, my sisters and I have had two older sisters, and growing up, and so I was the youngest of our family, and yeah.
Okay, so a lot of times if you have kids, and you tell them something, they don't listen to you, but Joe over here says the same thing, and they're like, "Oh, well, Joe's got the thing." So you've got these two iconic people in your life that are your relatives. Were they the coolest ones to you, or were you like, "Oh, this guy over here is the man"?
Absolutely, my dad was my mentor, and yeah, anything about racing, he's my dad, okay, so yeah, there was things that he said to do that I didn't, okay, but when it came to racing, no, he was, I listened to everything. Yeah.
Okay. So you're doing karts, and you're starting to, even as a young racer, you're getting victories and excelling.
Yep. I was something that it was like just came natural to me. It just came natural, and once I learned what the racing line is, the apex of the corners and all that kind of stuff. Once I learned that, which it didn't take me long at all, then it was just so cool. I was just so blessed and fortunate that what I loved doing, I was able to do. So,
Yeah.
be successful at it. So yeah.
So after karts, you do that at 9 years old until about 14, 15?
16.
16?
I did it all the way up
Because
till
you
I
have
was
to have a
16.
license to go to the next level.
Yes, you
Okay.
have to have a driver's license, and so which I got in New Mexico. I got it at 15 years old at the time, and so I had my license, but yeah, I went to sprint cars at a local track that actually my dad and Uncle Bobby started on. Now that track doesn't exist anymore, but it was called Speedway Park in Albuquerque, and it was a little quarter-mile dirt track. And so started driving sprint cars, started running them, and I did that for the next 3 years.
And the sprint cars are the ones with the wing on the top, and they kind of go around sideways?
Yeah, right. They race on the dirt ovals and so on. Now, when I raced, I ran with a wing on it just a few times, but mainly a non-wing car and so on. So.
Okay. And then were you knocking them out in that league
yeah,
too?
again, I was able to adapt to the car and go to the next level, and that pretty much was the way it was with me. Anytime I got into a new race car, I was able to adapt to it and so on. And so again, it was like my calling. It was something that just came natural to me.
Is it almost like when you're a kid and you're like in Pee Wee football and then you go to the next level, like or are you in the sprint cars and you're doing so well, like you're like, I just want to dominate this, or your eye is always on the Indy 500 prize?
I was always on the Indy 500. That's where we wanted to get to, and so back then you had to be 21 years old to race the Indy 500. Today you only have to be 18, okay, but back then you had to be 21, and so it was just a natural progression for me to go from the sprint car, and then I got into what they call a Super V, which is kind of like a mini Indy car, okay, and then the next level was Can-Am's, which is a full-bodied car and a little more horsepower and all that kind of stuff. To the next level, the Super V would run about 140, The Can-Am car would run about 160, and then the Indy car was, 200 miles an hour. So,
Man,